Recording in progress.
All right, we'll start our Board of Commissioners Tuesday meeting. We'll start with introductions. I'm Pat Malone, Commissioner and Chair.
Good morning, I'm Zan Oshiro, Commissioner.
Nancy Wise, Commissioner.
Vance Cronin, County Council.
Suzanne Hoffman, Interim County Administrator.
In the room,
Mark Yeager, Benton County Resident. Martin, County Clerk.
Stephanie Rapp, Victim Services Manager. Jane Severs, Benton County Employee, Financial Analyst. Amanda Makepeace, Deputy Specialist. Eric Milo, Board of Work.
and those joining us online wish to introduce yourselves.
Hi, April Holland, Health Department.
Okay, we can. Oh, okay. I think we heard April Holland. Is that right?
Yes.
Yes, hi.
Okay, good morning. Anyone else online? Hearing none, we'll go to review and approve the agenda. Are there any additions or corrections? Hearing none, I'll consider the agenda approved and we'll go to item number 3.
Actually, I'm sorry, don't we have to add under other consideration of a budget committee member?
Yes, thank you.
Sweeties, okay.
All right, with that addition, we'll consider the agenda approved and go into public comments. We have one person signed up for Jaeger. You have up to 3 minutes.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Not a lot of members of the public listening in today. Well, so just wanted to talk about a couple things this morning. First, I want to talk about the Justice System Improvement Project. From December 22nd to February 23rd, the cost estimate for the Justice System Project has increased from 179.3 million to 195.8 million. The estimated cost for this project increased $16.5 million since December, and the county has known about these cost increases since February 23rd. The county has not made these cost estimates available to the public. Why has the county been silent about these cost increases? The county has issued in the past $36.7 million of debt since 2002. Of that, $17.6 million has been issued since 2018, including $9.1 million to purchase and remodel this building on Research Way. All this debt was issued without any vote of the public, and all of this debt is still on the books. Now you're planning to issue another $36 million in additional new debt that is not part of the $110 million bond for the new jail and sheriff's office to finance the county's share of the new district attorney's office and the new courthouse, also with no vote by the members of the public. I've been asking for several months now, where is the money coming from to pay off this debt? I think I have a pretty good idea of where it's coming from now that I've looked at the budget. So not counting the proposed $110 million bond, the county will have issued over $72 million in bonds without any public vote. The taxpaying members of this county will be on the hook for these debt obligations for the next 25 years, all before we consider a vote on the additional $110 million for the jail. This does not include the 90 cent per $1,000 assessed value operating levy, 2-30, the Public Health and Safety Services levy that was approved in 2021. That will kick in on July 1, 2023. With all these resources, no money is being made available for the Homeless Navigation Center. The county's lobbyist is asking the legislature for $15.2 million for what they are calling the Tri-County Homeless Center. These records, I've been able to get all these records through some work with the county's financial offices, the debt service. These cost estimates haven't been made available to folks, so I'm a little curious about that. Benton County residents need to be paying closer attention. What's happening here? There's obligations that are being made on our behalf that I don't think a lot of people are aware of. So thank you for your time. Happy to answer any questions, but I know we don't have any.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next up, we'll start our work session, 4.1, COVID update from April Holland.
Hi, good morning, everyone. There's a bit of a feedback on my end, but I'll do my best to try to ignore it. Suzanne Hoffman is also listed on the agenda. Suzanne, did you want to kick off this item or would you like me to jump right in?
Please jump right in, April. I think that my name is there simply because I let everyone know that you'd probably be providing a recommendation today in terms of the frequency of these updates going forward. But thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And thanks to the tech folks who eliminated that really, it's so hard to hear yourself twice when you're speaking. So before we jump into the current state of COVID-19 in our community, I'd like to provide a recommendation as requested by the board to adjust the frequency of COVID-19 updates. The Health Department Operations Center ceased operations at the end of 2022, and certain essential functions were absorbed into public health as need for this work continued and as funding remained available. And though the pandemic remains a major disruption for many, we are doubtlessly in a time of transition. The federal public health emergency is ending on May 11th. Vaccines and treatments will move to mainstream models of distribution, and additional changes are likely to come. As we continue to navigate these fairly frequent changes, my recommendation to the board is to change the frequency of our COVID-19 updates from a bi-weekly to monthly updates through 2023, and then to consider a new cadence toward the end of the year, perhaps a quarterly update, depending on where we are starting in 2024. I can pause here to hear your thoughts on that, or I can jump right into the update. What would you like?
Might as well take this item. I think it makes sense. It seems like we've been batting this idea around of reducing the frequency for at least the last month, just due to your reports becoming a little more routine and also considering the best use of your time to keep doing your wonderful job. And you know, if something comes up, I'm sure we can count on direct communication or a special report to the board. But things seems like things have, at least for all of this year, been pretty routine and declining numbers and going into what's supposed to be spring and summer season when we have more opportunity to be outside. And so to me, it makes sense to reduce the frequency and then reevaluate later in the year. Any other thoughts?
I
I'm good.
concur.
Yep.
Okay, so I think we have agreement on that, and I think really appreciate your efforts to this point, to getting us to this point where it is more of a routine report. So I think once a month for the near term, and then see how that's working and what's appropriate. So I think you can we can schedule a once a month update, and so I think feel free to continue your report.
Wonderful. Thank you, commissioners. So right now, things are looking good, though I do have a bit of caution to add to our currently sunny picture. COVID-19 hospitalizations continue to decline. Statewide, there were 162 individuals hospitalized with COVID-19 as of the last count available a few weeks ago. This is a welcome change in direction after a long stretch of being over 200 on any given day since last May. Reported COVID-19 case counts continue to be low in Benton County and across most of the state. As we've discussed before, with folks predominantly using rapid antigen tests at home, it's estimated that just about 5% of cases are reported. And as these unreported home tests now dominate, reported cases are becoming less useful as a tool to determine community transmission, which is why we look beyond that. But in terms of reported cases during the week of April 2nd, we had a total of 25 reported cases, corresponding to a 7-day rate of 26 per 100,000 residents. And that's down from 47 reported cases the last time we met. The CDC reports our new COVID admissions at 2.2 per 100,000, and the percentage of staffed beds in use for COVID patients at 2.4%. And if you recall, these are the two metrics used in combination of reported cases to determine those low, medium, and high community levels. And of course, as I mentioned, you know that we look to additional data to help determine COVID-19 transmission activity. The Benton County testing positivity rate dipped from 10% to 5.2% during the week of April 2nd. The majority of wastewater sites across the state have been experiencing either steady or plateaued or decreasing signals of viral concentration. And Corvallis is one of those holding steady with largely unchanged viral concentrations of SARS-CoV-2. There are a few areas in Oregon that have recorded some increases in concentration. In an analysis, a recent analysis of statewide wastewater levels over a recent period illustrates the effect of the recent XBB 1.5 variant. While the virus levels in the water had reached similar levels to those observed during the earlier winter surge, the impact on hospitalizations remained mild, and infection levels have since subsequently declined. I do want to let you know, I mentioned a few weeks ago that there are a few newer Omicron variants causing increases in reported cases in different parts of the world. They're also causing increases in hospitalizations in different parts of the world. These two subvariants of Omicron are called XBB 1.9 and XBB.1.16. I won't test you on these. These currently appear to be more of what we've seen before. As I said, they're subvariants of Omicron with increased transmissibility. Yet thanks to the level of immunity that we have in our population, there are expected to be lower impacts in terms of hospitalizations and deaths relative to if we didn't have the level of immunity that we currently have. So here's the caution I mentioned at the start of the update. Models differ in terms of what we may see in the next few months. We may or may not see a sizable wave of hospitalizations from these new variants, and we may see adjustments to models as additional data becomes available. Oregon Health and Sciences University, OHSU, predicts a new wave of hospitalizations is expected from these two new variants. The current forecast is for these to begin in May and peak at the end of June. And this is based on data on an increase in another part of the world. The latest OHSU modeling predicts a rise in those hospitalizations, but one less severe than recent waves, with a max estimate of 500 individuals hospitalized. And the number of deaths is expected to remain low. However, other models, including the CDC ensemble forecast, which uses data from several sources, predict more modest increases in hospitalizations. So we may see something more along the middle of these two projections. I'll absolutely be in touch as we see adjustments to these forecasts. However, with new subvariants of Omicron on the horizon, we know that broader immunity helps to slow spread and reduces the risk of severe illness and death. And we know the safest way to achieve that immunity is through vaccination. So it's important for folks to get that bivalent booster if they haven't yet, as this is going to be the best protection from those severe outcomes. As of last week, about 30% of Benton County residents have received a bivalent booster, which is much higher than the rest of the state and much higher than the rest of the nation. However, we could improve that number and improve the protection that folks have. Of these, of residents age 65 and older, about 84% of Benton County residents have received a bivalent booster. When I was checking for updates this morning, as of literally 5 minutes before the start of this meeting, I learned that the FDA authorized an additional dose of the bivalent booster for individuals 65 and older, or those with immunocompromising conditions. Administration of these additional bivalent boosters can't begin until the CDC approves this and incorporates it into their protocols. And then Oregon Health Authority will have to follow suit and incorporate those protocols into ours. But we could have the additional bivalent shots available for those eligible in Oregon soon, perhaps by the start of next week. There are I've been updating this body on a few different things, including recent changes to masking requirements in healthcare settings. As you know, there's no longer a state requirement for universal masking in healthcare settings. That happened April 3rd. The federal emergency ending, public health emergency ending on May 11th, and a lot of work from OHA and DHS to ensure that folks know about some of the changes that come with that. I also touched on a few weeks ago the upcoming commercialization of COVID-19 vaccines and therapeutics. We are still awaiting, OHA is still awaiting specifics on what those costs of vaccines are going to be. So there's still a lot in the air as we move toward that May 11th end of the public health emergency, and we continue to respond to COVID-19 outbreaks, to the needs of our communities, and we will continue to do so to the very best of our ability, and we'll continue to bring the latest information to you as we receive it. Happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions for April? Let's see, I have one on booster recommendation. I heard something about if you're over 65 and it's been more than 4 months since your last booster, you will be eligible for I assume the same bivalent booster. Is there going to be some recommendation how good an idea that is? I mean, there's a difference between you can and you should. So do you have any thoughts on that?
It's a great question, Commissioner, and I think that there is a line of there are different opinions on whether it increases the current benefit in terms of severe illness and death. What I think is clear is that an additional bivalent booster dose can help prevent infection, can help reduce transmission, and therefore, as a good public health move, I think the data are absent to say with confidence that you get additional protection from death or hospitalization because of a second bivalent booster or an additional bivalent booster, because the data just don't exist at this time.
All right, thank you. Oh, I don't see any other questions, so thank you for your report and looking forward to seeing you on a monthly basis going forward.
Thanks so much. Take care.
Bye. Next up, 4.2 County Administrator Recruitment Update. Do we have Tracy Martineau with us?
I don't see her online.
Didn't see her earlier.
Commissioner, I just reached out but didn't get a response, so we may have had a mix up in terms of making sure she was aware.
Okay.
She was on the calendar for today. I did see yesterday that she emailed to all of you a confirmation email that the job is posted.
Yep.
And I know that she's engaged with Corey and the communications team to get the word out in a number of different ways. I've already forwarded that link out to various folks in my network and hope that lots of people will do the same. And I apologize if we're able to bring Tracy in for any additional information before the end of the meeting. We'll certainly do that. Otherwise, I know she's going to keep you updated as every milestone is hit along the way, and we can certainly bring her back on another agenda.
Okay. Well, we'll move on. Next up is the consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent calendar. Second.
All in favor of approving the consent calendar, say aye.
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 Consent calendar is approved. Next up, 6.1 in the matter of proclaiming April 23rd to 29th, 2023 is Crime Victims' Rights Week. And we have Stephanie Raff from Victims Services Manager from the DA's office. So welcome, Stephanie.
Americans are the victims of 20 million crimes each year that affect individuals and communities. And in 2022, the Benton County District Attorney's Victim Assistance Program assisted 2,306 crime victims, providing 40,911 services. Since 1981, the United States has observed National Crime Victims' Rights Week to raise awareness about victims' rights and services. The Office for Victims of Crime has declared the 2023 theme to be Survivor Voices: Elevate, Engage, Affect Change. The term victim is more than just a label and has legal standing and protections that go along with it. Crime Victims' Rights Acts passed here in Oregon and at the federal level guarantee victims the right to meaningfully participate and use their voice in the criminal justice process. Victim services providers, advocates, law enforcement officers, attorneys, and other allied professionals can help survivors find their justice by enforcing these rights. The rights to provide a victim impact statement ensures that victims' voices are considered in court during the sentencing and when applicable restitution processes. Including and elevating the voices of survivors makes certain they are heard, seen, and creates a path to forging and then sustaining community trust. Engaging survivors creates responses and services that are credible, meaningful, and centered on individual needs. Survivors' lived experiences can serve as a catalyst for implementing innovative programs, shifting existing programs in new directions, and changing policies or practices that prevent survivors from accessing services or pursuing justice. National Crime Victims' Rights Week provides an opportunity to recommit to listening to crime survivors in every space where decisions are made that could impact them. Benton County District Attorney's Office is hereby dedicated to amplifying the voices of survivors and creating an environment where survivors have the confidence that they will be heard, believed, and supported. We're asking that the Benton County Commissioners proclaim the week of April 23rd through the 29th as Crime Victims' Rights Week, reaffirming Benton County's commitment to creating a victim service and criminal justice response that assists all victims of crime during Crime Victims' Rights Week and throughout the year, and expressing our sincere gratitude and appreciation for those community members, victim service providers, and criminal justice professionals who are committed to improving our response to all victims of crime so that they may find relevant assistance, support, justice, and peace. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
I just moved that we proclaim the week of April 23rd to 29th, National Crime Victims' Rights Week, proclamation P 2020-001.
I don't think you're on.
I turned myself off instead of on. I'm sorry about that.
All right. One more time.
I move that we proclaim the week of April 23rd through the 29th as National Crime Victims' Rights Week in Benton County, proclamation P 2023-001.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Proclamation is approved and thank you, Stephanie.
And Chair, I do see that Tracy Martineau is now online.
Okay, thank you. I did not see that. All right, we'll go back to the update for our county administrator. Tracy?
Good morning, Commissioners. I apologize. I think that we had a little miscommunication. I don't have an update to give to you this morning. We launched the recruitment announcement for the county administrator yesterday. I provided you with some of the links to share with your networks. We've got Corey Grogan deeply involved with us in promoting the position. We're very excited to finally get this out in the wild. And as the pool develops, I will provide you with further updates.
I guess any questions for Tracy?
Just to say thank you, and I'm excited, and I look forward to seeing what applicants we get.
And Tracy, could you go over the timetable again? Just so now it's open, and is it open till filled, or what's the schedule?
I sure will, Commissioner. Give me one moment to bring that up in front of me. It is open until filled. The first review date, let's see, is May 22nd. And so at that point in time, although we'll keep an eye on the pool as it develops along the way, at that point in time, we can make a decision on whether to leave it open or to close the search at that time.
Great. That helps kind of set the calendar. So, any other questions for Tracy? Well, thank you for your efforts, and we're looking forward to good news on this front.
Thank you, Commissioner.
All right. Next up. New business, 7.1, initiation of proceedings to vacate two portions of Coon Road, number 45, 800. Joe Martis. Morning, Commissioners. Morning. Well, there was a field survey done by the owners that brought in the petition to vacate. And the county is making a deal with the owners. They want to do a subdivision plat just west of Monroe on Coon Road. And of course, through the survey, we found out that the original 40-foot right-of-way was an old wagon road in 1886. Which is still our right of way. The majority of the portion of the road was outside of the right of way. It was mostly to the east of where the old right of way went. So instead of doing road improvements, part of the road improvements, we told the owners we would like them to dedicate right of way around the physical road that's outside of the old right of way. Now, the other part is the vacation part. Some of the right of way in the old 40-foot right of way is not needed by us. And it's needed by the owners because there's a 2-acre minimum for dividing up different portions of their property. And so they want to keep the numbers even. So if we give them back some of the right of way, that's acreage added to each of the lots. And so that's the whole idea behind the thing. So that's the deal. The other part is the kind of on me is getting the vacation and the dedication going at the same time. Right now, this is the initiation of the vacation, so it's not the actual vacation of the property. But that's the nuts and bolts of it is to get them done at a similar time. And what I've done, told the owners and their surveyor, is to put a blank on the survey and note the vacation on that survey, so they can't, so they're kind of forced to have the vacation process done. And that won't probably be around in June sometime. I'll have to set that up. I have the plat in my office. I've redlined it. I'm having our engineering staff and the planning department, and I have to get back to them and see how far along they are looking at it. But it looks like everything that we wanted through Public Works is they're providing that for us on the plat. If I have the final plat on Mylar signed by them and it comes to me, I'm good to go. I don't have to record it. I can see that's in good faith. And then I can record it anytime. But the vacation order, I'd say we can hold off. If we have to hold off on recording it or signing it, and I can, go with the board and try to get that timing down. If I guess we don't record it, it's not out to the public. So
We still have to have a public hearing though for the actual vacation. And we
Yes.
can schedule that at the time in and around when the subdivision approval has occurred, right?
well, I did want to hold them up, on their subdivision plat because they're proceeding ahead. Because I have a paper copy. I usually check a paper copy so I don't have to keep making corrections on their Mylar all the time. So it looks like they want to move ahead on this. I guess I could schedule the hearing and then see where they are in their dedication.
Have they actually filed a subdivision application yet?
Yes.
They have, okay.
Yeah. Yes, and that went through the planning commission, by the way, and it was approved.
And it was approved.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, okay.
They have a number and everything. So,
Okay.
I mean, they made all these agreements with us, so they're not
I think they're getting what they want, and we're definitely getting what we on the plat. Once I have that in hand, I don't have to record it, but I have their signatures on the map. That's an agreement between.
So it sounds like for today, we just need to initiate the vacation process.
Right.
And then you guys can figure out all the timeline after that. Is that correct?
Yeah, yes, although, so I guess just to, summarize what Joe has said, so. The dedication, vacation, or hand in glove means of correcting the alignment that over time has, many of our roads has happened. We will be giving up that portion of the right of way that's outside the existing roadway. In exchange, we'll be getting through the dedication on the subdivision plat, the corresponding right of way in the actual roadway. The subdivision has been approved, so this process then, I presume, by initiating the vacation process, will allow the applicants to finalize their lot sizes based on the anticipated vacation. Then I'm not sure, Joe, what the timing will be between the hearing, because a vacation requires, right here, somebody has to initiate the process. And then we have a noticed hearing for anybody who can come and testify as to the wisdom of vacating property.
Right.
I'm not sure what the plan is to sync up tentative plat approval and the vacation. So
I'll throw this idea out to you because you're legal counsel. Can the board hold up on the timing of approving the vacation?
we can just,
With the conditions, what the condition would be is that if we don't have the plat in hand, because that's the good faith part of it, if the final plat in hand signed by the owners, then we're going to table that until we actually have the plat in hand, and then the vacation order can be approved and signed.
so I guess what I would suggest, and let me take a look at the motion for the board. The motion is to declare the intended, and I would suggest at the end of the motion to direct staff to return and for the scheduled public hearing at the time the plat is ready to be finalized with the dedication. That would allow us to sync it up. We have no time
I
constraint.
was gonna
for
say,
when we
maybe
come back.
if this isn't ready to go today, maybe we should bring it back to another meeting.
This is a necessary step, and then we can just kind of sit on it until the dedication.
So you're okay with if I get a time in June or whatever, we could proceed because they are moving forward on the plat. I just don't have the final plat because I've got it redlined.
And that's up to the board. I'm just legally, we could hold the public hearing in 2 weeks, 2 months, 12. That doesn't matter.
Directing staff to hold that public hearing at.
So it has to
goes
be-
through at the same time as that final.
Yes.
plat.
It has to be at
we-
least a
That's
month
fine.
because all hearings have to be notified 30 days.
I mean, do we
So-
actually need to direct that? That wouldn't happen without changing the motion. in the
I think
packet?
it's good so that we have a record
yeah.
for why
Just yes
this
or no
might
is
be
what I
a
was looking
2 or
for.
3 month delay.
It's an unusual way to do things, but it actually, we'll probably see more of this.
We'll try to have a more delineated process for you if we get another one of these.
I think the whole idea is that have the plat signed in hand. That's the good faith part. I'm not giving that back because that means they agree to everything on that plat. Maybe I'll work with Vance and find out a little more information of what their timeline is. It looks like they're moving forward. So
Yeah, if they've already received planning commission approval, then ball is entirely.
And they actually
Which is a
submitted
good thing for us trying to sync up the dedication vacation.
Okay, well, I would move that pursuant to ORS 368.326 to 368.341. We declare Benton County's intent that proceedings be initiated to vacate 2 portions of Coon Road, County Road number 45800 as described in the resolution, with the intention that we hold the public hearing at such time that it will, our approval, our process will be concurrent with the plat map being finalized for subdevelopment.
At the mouthful, and you got it right. Very good.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
And Erica, you got the addition?
What's the phrase after finalized for subdevelopment? Is that the last word or subdevelopment?
I'm sorry, was there supposed to be something about a public hearing in there? Did I miss it?
When we come back, we will schedule the public hearing.
I said it in the motion,
Required.
but you did get it in the motion.
I think so.
Okay.
You're asking me to remember what I just said.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Erica.
it's, I'm requesting the recording, both Erica's ears and the audio recording.
Yeah, I don't believe it's necessary to state the public hearing is the next step, simply because statutorily, once the initiation has been approved, our next mandatory step is a hearing.
And there is a typo in the motion in the packet to portion, and it should have an S to
Yeah,
portion.
that sentence was a little rough. I would expect that this would happen more frequently, as you both mentioned, because of the fact that all of our mapping tools now are so much more accurate than the mapping tools were back when the wagon road was in place. But also there's more subdevelopment occurring, and so that people are needing to eke out every bit of acreage in order to meet minimum acreage standards. Is that what you're referring to?
That's what's happening in this case.
Yeah.
Yes, so they can, yes, get to that bare minimum, 2 acre minimum. I think the other aspect of this, and we run into it all the time, these old roads, when they were platted, laid out and used 100, 150 years ago. Yeah, close enough. Now with our GPS and the way roads change, then they do change. We have many pieces that are outside of the right of way. So these little adjustments, I think the Board of Commissioners heading into the year 2900 are probably going to be getting some of these.
Most of the wagon roads are angle points, back is make an angle point. And then the advent of the car started cutting the corners. Remember that we have prescriptive regs. That physical road we've been maintaining over 100 years or whatever, 1886. So the idea that we have not right anyway, but it's nice to put it in writing. And because I do a lot of right-of-way research and to get this dedication, and it just wraps around the road nicely, and we can move on. There's no bickering back and forth with the owners and us, because they are on board.
Well, and then the other thing that's changed in the last 100 years or so is land is more valuable. And so when you're talking about another 3 feet by 100 feet, it's actually worth something. So I think we will be seeing more of these. But thank you.
Okay.
We'll see you soon. All right. Next up, 7.2, discussion and decision regarding the creation of new positions at behavioral health for a community-based mobile crisis team. And Damian Sands, and there he is. It's magic. I say your name and you appear. This is good morning, Damian.
Good morning, commissioners. Forgive me, this is my first time, my first rodeo for requesting positions. So if I am doing this out of order, do steer me right. So I'm going to make a proposal, and I'm assuming that my proposal would be for the approval of 8 positions within the mobile crisis team. That's, I don't know if you need me to go into great detail as to the specifics on that, but I am more than willing to expound on any of my narrative that you will find within the submitted document.
And maybe I could add that these positions came before the Position Review Committee to be approved as limited duration, which is all that the committee has the authority to approve at this stage, since they are not part of this biennium's current budget, but they are moving forward in the proposed budget for the next biennium. And if you have any questions about the funding source or things of that nature, Damien, and I see Rick has also joined us for any questions you might have about them.
Why don't you go over the funding mechanism to get this going?
Absolutely, Commissioner. And I just want to specifically call out the flexibility of both HR and finance in terms of us supporting this. This is a pretty unique situation in which traditionally we will have a biannual contract that will be awarded out of the state through our CFR. That funding is usually just, a mechanism in which everything will move forward as expected in terms of how we're going to be standing up a service delivery. What made this unique is that OHA chose to move that process up specifically for mobile crisis. So as you're aware, you've probably heard of the 988 being rolled out across the nation. So this is directly related to that standing up of a new 24/7 mobile crisis response. This, of course, puts it out of the traditional funding stream and puts us kind of behind the 8 ball to get this stood up. Obviously, we need to be able to say that, given that we are kind of asking to jump the queue, as it were, in terms of the traditional biannual budget process. So the rationale as was stated behind not wanting to do a limited duration was that this will be a bit of a challenge for us to be able to hire all 8 positions in such a quick turnaround, and doubly so if we were to identify them as limited durations versus as permanent positions. So with that stated, there are 2 funding mechanisms that are related to these positions. Both of those are ongoing and already contractually bound, in which we will be receiving a combination of funds through RCCO, through IHN. They will be doing that in the form of a PMPM, so per member per month payment. That payment assures us a guaranteed revenue source in terms of our month-to-month payment. And in addition to that, through our contract, our direct contract with OHA, which also has a fixed amount, both of those combining to our ability to stand up quite safely with a good amount of padding. And if you'd like to know the padding, I think Rick can sort of give the assurance on that end. But for the most part, we feel more than confident in terms of this being a cost-neutral point for Benton County. So all to say, finances look good, should be no burden upon the county whatsoever. And the only challenge here really is the timeline in terms of us being able to turn this around and get individuals hired and through the door.
And commissioners, if I might just add, first of all, kudos to Damien. He's been a great partner in working with this and helping me understand as well the complex financing related to behavioral health. I want to give you all assurance that I take position management very, very seriously, particularly when it comes to sustainability and making sure whatever positions we are approving when we're looking at permanent, that they do have sustainable funding. I want to provide you the assurance that we have done, a pretty good job in working with Damien to really analyze this, to understand this. As Suzanne said, this is part of the proposed budget that you will be hearing very soon. And so just wanted to reassure you, a lot of confidence in the revenue source, feel good about this approval, and would recommend you moving it forward. So with that, I will be quiet.
This is a state mandate, and every county is facing the same. And it's also one of Governor Kotek's highest priorities. So I also am confident in terms of the funding stream at this time. What I'm a little more concerned about is our ability to hire, especially since every county is going to be competing for the same employees with the same qualifications. So can you address that point at this time? And are we getting out a little bit ahead of some of our other counties if by approving this now?
Well, I would love to say yes, but as Suzanne sort of spoke to this around the challenges around the limited duration and our sort of our process to make sure that this is thoroughly vetted, we are probably right in the midst of the pack of all of our fellow counties in terms of being able to issue this. Obviously, we have to go through a due diligence piece, and I think all of us are sort of falling into that same category. I certainly do not want to paint a rosy picture in terms of the availability, but as you can imagine, this is a relatively discrete population in terms of if we're going to look at a employment pool. So, a couple of these positions, I think we've identified, let's say, a program manager, QMHP, both of those, requiring advanced degrees, both of those requiring some type of experience with crisis. Already there, you're talking about a pool that's been limited. Now look at from a regional perspective, and if we look at the Valley in terms of being able to hire that individual, yes, we are most definitely going to be in this place. This feedback has been shared with OHA in terms of how it was rolled out, and perhaps in hindsight, I think they too see that maybe this wasn't the best idea to roll it out with everyone all at the same time. But here we are. So we will do our best to do all of our due diligence around getting individuals through the door, right down to we're even considering some, maybe we'll put something on the crisis center that's currently in that space. We have a nice amount of fencing along the side. Maybe we'll even put some ads up there as well. But this is going to be one of those ones we will be sort of really pushing on, because we are contractually already under the gun. It's a complex model. It's very well intended. As you know, Senator Wyden was related to this in terms of his advocacy at the federal level to see these awards go out. It's a wonderful concept. We're really, really fortunate within our county to have the wisdom and the ability to be already moving ahead on the crisis center. So there's a lot of really good stuff that is associated with this. But again, it is going to be that challenge of getting into that. To me is what I see as not just our biggest hurdle. Will be getting someone through that front door and then hired and signed.
Damien, do I understand correctly? The limited duration part is so you can get going in the current
Commissioner, it's actually
before July 1.
Yeah, Commissioner, it's actually the inverse of that. So I do appreciate all of you having the time and space to be able to review this. What we're kind of asking to do here is circumvent what traditionally would be defined as a limited duration position. As Rick called out, he himself, speaking of diligence, is very diligent around the hiring of positions outside of a traditional budgetary cycle. So to put it in pretty informally, we're asking to skip ahead of everybody and asking for a little bit of special treatment so that we can remove that LD moniker, so that when an applicant sees that position, instead of them saying, this is only limited duration, this doesn't appear to be a guaranteed position, that they can have the assurance that indeed it will be a guaranteed position. So we see that as being critical in terms of being able to attract applicants from a broader pool. I think some people would choose to sort of self-select out if they saw an LD initial moniker next to that job title, and understandably so.
All right, thank you. Any other questions or comments?
Just that this might be an opportunity to think about in the coming months when we have a little more time, hopefully, is to really examine, and I know this is high on Rick's priority list, a true position management system. What we have in place helps to assure that there is careful thought and due diligence given before permanent positions are established outside of the current biennial budget. But it does take time, and that time is critical in situations like this, where we are, literally dealing with crisis services that are mandated by the state that we have sustainable funding for. They're perhaps having a mechanism to be able to go around that process and move a little more quickly would be a good first step. And then, of course, more thorough examination of the process going forward is what I would recommend.
Well, in spite of the difficulties of getting this stood up, I mean, it's exciting. It's another piece of filling in the gaps that we have in our services and fits in with our kind of overall plan for doing a much better job of taking care of some people in our community that need help and that currently aren't being served as well as they could be. So
thank you, Commissioner. Absolutely. That is our hope. And as you said, we all feel quite, we recognize the challenge, but we also absolutely do count our blessings around being able to have some funding behind this to make it happen. So it's good stuff.
okay, are we ready for a motion?
I would move that we approve the creation of 8 positions that necessary to staff a community-based mobile crisis team as approved and defined by the Position Review Committee.
Second.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Well, get to work, Damien.
Sure, I'll get right on it right now. Thank you.
Okay. Well, looking forward to more information how the hiring is going.
Absolutely. Will do.
Thank you. All right. Next up, 7.3, discussion and action regarding intergovernmental agreement with Lynn County.
Is now a good time for a short break, or you want to do that after?
Sure. We will take a 5-minute break, Rick, and be right back. We promise.
Thank you.
And Laurel. Yeah. So we're ready to get started back up. 7.3, discussion and action regarding intergovernmental agreement with Lynn County. Community Development Block Housing Grant. Rick Krager and Rachel Maddock Hughes is also listed. I don't know if she's with us this morning, but
I'm on the phone here, Commissioner.
great. Good morning. All
Good
right.
morning, commissioners. Good to see you. Apologize for my dress here this morning. As you know, I'm dealing with a little bit of medical ailment, but moving along. So wanted to just have the opportunity to come before you to talk about our community development housing assistance grant. I think just as a background for all of you, as you recall, this was a grant that you all approved actually last summer for application. We executed agreement with Business Oregon for a $485,000 grant in which we agreed to sub out the majority of that to Dev Northwest, which is affordable housing organization in the Benton and Lynn County areas, to be able to provide housing assistance to low moderate income Argonians. I think you also might remember we put a portion of our ARPA dollars. That was one of our grants to kind of be able to enhance that particular program. As you recall, the difference though between those two monies are quite, well, they're quite different. First and foremost, the ARPA dollars, as you know, is much more flexible in terms of the usage, and our community development block grant dollars have a little bit more requirements in relation to that. And because of it, I think we've struggled in terms of being able to get all of that money committed. And I'm going to let Rachel talk a little bit about some of the challenges that Dev Northwest has had with it. What we come to you today for is a discussion and thought about being able to expand the area with community development block grant money. We do have the ability to do this in multi-county areas. There certainly is a need in our partner with our partners in Lynn County in terms of needs. These dollars could, again, through approval of the commission and approval by Business Oregon, which have always already indicated they would be willing to do this, we could be able to expand this into the Lynn County area. If not, I think what we've heard from Dev Northwest, then it's likely we will not use all of the dollars that have been allocated to us. But I think what I'll do is I will have Rachel speak a little bit to that as relates to some of the challenges that we have seen and kind of what Dev Northwest is saying. And I do apologize, both Rachel and I wanted Dev Northwest to be here today. Fortunately, they were not able to make it. But again, we've gotten information that Rachel can relay. So Rachel, can I have you maybe brief the board a little bit?
Absolutely. Commissioners, good morning. So as you guys know, as Rick alluded to, CDBG funding, community development block grant funding, while it definitely fills a needed niche, it is a challenge to get out. So this particular set of funding is to help pay utilities and back rent or back mortgage that are owed to help prevent eviction. I think it's a really important piece in terms of the cycle of, keeping people in their homes and also preventing homelessness. That being said, I've spoken with Dev Northwest, and while they think they can get the majority of funding out in Benton County, and they're set up to do so with their systems and their capacity, they have a staff member who is on hand just to work with this program and the ARPA dollars. They feel that they're about $100,000 shy of being able to allocate it out in Benton County. They do, however, have projects and relationships in Lynn County, and we know that there is a need there. And they feel confident that they would be able to allocate out the remaining funds to Lynn County. We have already checked with Business Oregon to see if this would be allowable, and they had said yes, that this is an allowable cost. It would require probably an IGA with Lynn County, an amendment to a contract with Dev Northwest to include Lynn County. But it will be fairly straightforward, and it would allow for us to fully spend down for the county to fully spend down the allocated grant.
And commissioners, I might just add one piece in terms of our review. And I think both Rachel and I agree that obviously we want to continue to put priority towards Benton County and ensure that those dollars, to the extent that they can be maximized in Benton County. And so that would be part of our agreement, is that, you know, we want to continue to make Benton County the priority, but at the same time, if there are dollars that are available, we would love to be able to see all of those used in areas that could be most needed. So that would be our recommendation, though, is that that there would continue to be a priority in relation to our county efforts.
Yes, correct.
Any questions?
I just want to say I'm supportive of this solution, extending the funds to Lynn County in order to ensure that we are able to use all of the dollars for the original intended purpose, which is to keep people in their homes and avoid eviction. I do want to express a little bit of frustration with the fact that Dev Northwest staff are not here today. Ever since the merger between Willamette Neighborhood Housing Services and the housing developer down in Lane County that formed Dev Northwest, they have gradually disappeared from the scene, and we don't see their leadership here anymore. And it's hard to get a hold of them. So I think I just want to express that frustration. But I do think that this is a good resolution for this bucket of money. And I know that the CDBG dollars are much more difficult to spend. They have a lot more strings attached.
Commissioner Ojero, this is Rachel. I just want to express that it is actually on me that they're most not here today. I did notify them only at the beginning of, I think it was yesterday morning, about this meeting. I'd been out sick for several days last week and was just a little behind in my email. So at least on this case, you can put it down to me not giving them enough notification, but they did send us the bullet points for speaking with you today.
Thank you. That's noted. I'm just seeing a larger pattern. So thank you for that, though, Rachel.
Rick or Rachel, what's the timetable on getting these dollars spent? Or
Sorry, Commissioner. Yes, it is September is the final drop dead date, although there is always a little bit of wiggle room within that to extend if we need to. But Dev Northwest did seem confident that, you know, if we did extend this, the geographic area to Lynn County, that they would be able to keep to the timeline.
Okay, thank you. I mean, I guess I am also supportive of this adjustment and how to use these dollars and appreciate the strings attached but I think it's a worthwhile use of the money as long as the emphasis is on Benton County, and then what's left look to Lynn County. So
I have a question. If we were to not move forward with this, it sounds like we would not be able to use all of the money that was allocated to us. What would happen with that? Would that money go back to the pool and be reallocated, you know, the next round?
Yeah. Commissioner Wise thinks, and I'm sorry, Rachel, either one of us could probably answer this, but bottom line is if we would obviously continue to do, you know, make efforts within the geographic area of Benton County only. But again, based on what Dev Northwest is at the end of September or at the end of our contract period, we would have dollars left, and those monies would just be returned. Actually, we just wouldn't draw them all down from Business Oregon. It would just be money unused. How I think, and Rachel can respond to this better than I, but I think, you know, Business Oregon is on a time frame in terms of usage. So ultimately that money would just be reverted to the federal government as non-used. But like she said, there is some wiggle room that we do get sometimes with extension. I know that we went through that a little bit with our previous ones. So there is always a possibility to get a little bit more time, but ultimately I believe the answer is it would likely just revert to the federal government unless Business Oregon can find some other provider. Rachel, feel free to correct me if I got anything wrong.
You're spot on, Rick.
Thank you. And so I think, Rachel, you said that you double checked and made sure that all of this is legally allowed and okay and all that good stuff.
That is correct. And yes, the next step would be speaking with Lynn County. But my guess is that if we're offering additional funding for this, there's not going to be a naysayer in the group. So that would be the next step once the Benton County's Board of Commissioners approves.
Thank you. Well, I'm always happy to partner with our bold and daring partners over in Lynn County.
Okay, if there's no other questions or information needed, I would entertain a motion.
I move to expand the housing CDBG grant to include Lynn County while maintaining Benton County residents as the first priority for expenditure of funds.
Second.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Motion carries. Thanks, Rachel and Rick, and this sounds like a good solution to getting the money out the door to the people that need it. Thank you.
And thanks, and Commissioners. One thing I failed to say, I know I mentioned that a portion of the program with Dev Northwest is funded with ARPA. My understanding that particular program is not, again, doesn't have always the particular strings attached. So obviously this decision is just related to the CDBG, but I will be doing a little bit more follow-up with Dev Northwest as it relates to our ARPA dollars and making sure that we're not having any issues there, because clearly if so, then that you have more flexibility in terms of what you would revert those dollars to. So I will follow back with you on it.
Okay, thank you. Next up, we'll go to department reports and requests. 8.1. Discussion and decision regarding county assessment and funding function assistance, CAFA, grant application for fiscal 2023-24. Jane Severs and Rick Greger still with us. Tammy Tracy is also listed. Is she going to be joining us?
I don't see her online.
Okay.
Commissioners, I'm just going to sit here and smile a lot. Jane's the real brains behind this operation, so I'm just going to turn it over to her.
You do that so well, Rick. So, all right, Jane.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Annually, the county is required to file a one-year budget for the assessment and taxation program with the Oregon Department of Revenue. A portion of program expenses are reimbursed by the Department of Revenue based on Benton County's pro rata share of all Oregon County assessment and taxation expenses. The purpose of the state program is to ensure counties are budgeting adequate resources to meet statutory requirements. The assessment and taxation grant document must be filed by May 1st. Program expenses include property tax valuation, related cartography, tax collection, property value appeals, and supporting data processing systems. The Department of Revenue does have authority to enforce county funding for assessment and taxation programs if it determines resources allocated are inadequate to meet standards. The first level is to discuss with the assessor and Board of Commissioners its concerns. The second level is to not certify county expenditures, therefore denying program funds to the county. The budget in the attached grant application is based on the 2023-2024 fiscal period of the 2023-2025 proposed budget. The options are to approve as proposed, hold or modify, or do not approve, and failure to certify the document by May 1st could result in a substantial reduction in general fund revenue for the fiscal period 2023-24. The fiscal impact is the proposed amount for the board to certify is $3,270,040. The amount will generate an estimated $419,000 to cover about 13% of costs of the assessment and tax functions in fiscal period 2023-24. So staff recommends the board certify the amount to the Department of Revenue.
Any questions?
One question, basically. We get reimbursed only for a portion of the cost of collecting revenues
Mhm.
from the state. I know that there's been work to try and increase that over time. It's been unsuccessful at the legislature so far. But does this basically represent flat funding from the state?
Well, they send out forecasts for funds that are available, and then they break it out available to distribute to counties. So I don't know if it's flat funded or not, or how they come up with the funds. My portion of this work is only to figure out the expenses on our end to submit for reimbursement.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
but I'm assuming that our costs have gone up year over year and that the revenue we receive from the state has not.
It only increases like by 2%, I think.
Okay.
The amount distributed to counties.
Thank you.
So does that mean
Commissioner,
that
if I might
expenses
just
are-
jump in on this, I know that this has been a conversation with assessors in terms of essentially, as you said, it's kind of a flat funding, but cost is growing, and we need to make sure that the resources are continuing to keep up. I think there is some legislation, as you might remember, that is out there in terms of trying to produce some opportunities to make sure that the revenues that are being generated, and can cover the cost. But definitely, as you point out wisely, that this is a flat funding situation where we're not getting enough to cover all the cost.
Along those lines, is there any statutory or any language, what portion that the state is supposed to cover, or is this just a kind of tradition and we're supposed to be happy with what they send us?
Commissioner, I think, both Jane and I would need to follow back with you on that unless Jane has some words of wisdom as it relates to it. I think, again, there are some statutory requirements. I have to guess, based on, experience with most state statutes, is not going to have anything that would say, you must cover cost. I think it's probably more formula based in terms of what they provide, but we would probably just need to do a little follow-up for you on that and get back.
Okay, because this reminds me a little bit of the situation with the DA and the courthouse, and the state used to cover significantly higher percentage, and so anything we can do on this issue to try to keep up would, I think, would be a worthwhile effort. Or at least be able to say what the situation is, and how the state is not keeping up with their funding.
And Commissioner, this might also be a good discussion tonight when we start Thursday, when Assessment Department begins its presentation. I know we will talk a lot about the revenues associated with that. So I think that will be a good place for some dialogue around that as well.
Great, thank you. Did you have something, Nancy? Okay.
Okay, in that case, I would move to approve the 2023-24 CAFA grant document certifications and resolution as presented, and authorize the Chief Financial Officer to digitally sign the online documents on behalf of the Board of Commissioners and submit to the Oregon Department of Revenue.
Second.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving right along, number 9, other, and we need to add a member to the budget committee. And I guess, are you handling that, Rick?
I'll do my best here to navigate. I think as you all know, I have been providing information to all of you to review in relation to bringing on a new budget committee member. Recall that we did have a resignation a few weeks back, and we wanted to try to put forward a process. We quickly mobilized to get a application process out and communicated as broadly as we could. We were fortunate enough to get 4 applications that had come in. One of them was ineligible, unfortunately, due to their status as a member in the community. I should say they weren't actually a resident within the community, nor a registered voter. So that eliminated them in consultation with Vance. We made that determination. There were 3 other candidates that were put forward to you to consider. I tried to get additional information from each of them. Obviously, as we talked about last time, this is kind of a big commitment, really quick. It actually starts tonight, and would be for at least 7 days, and some of those being during work hours. And we didn't know clearly would that be a problem with any of the members. I think one of the members that I had sent and forwarded to you did indicate that they might miss 3 days of the 7, which would be, I think, problematic. And then there were a couple other members that assured that they would be able to provide some support. So not sure how this typically kind of goes with the 3 of you, but I know you have all the applications and all the information. So I think it would just be an open discussion in terms of maybe thoughts, preferences in relation to the 3 eligible candidates.
I'd like to say thank you, first of all, for to all the staff for running such a rapid process and for getting the word out so widely. We had great applicants, and the one that wasn't qualified, is a long-standing business person in our community, and I'm grateful to him for stepping up as well. So with that, I just want to say that my concerns are about geographical diversity, diversity of perspectives on the budget committee. And I would strongly support appointing Liz Irish to the budget committee because she represents a portion of the community that, well, I don't want to double up on Philomath representation. Our other great candidate would do so. And she has also indicated that she's available for all the budget committee meetings and would be able to attend consistently.
Yeah, I would also I appreciate that we got multiple applications in such a short turnaround, and that we had such great community members willing to participate and contribute. We really couldn't make a wrong decision here. So it's a tough choice. Yeah. But my first choice also would be for Liz Irish.
Okay, I had similar comments, and I'm very pleased that we had good choices in less than a week of notice. So I think the process worked, and I think I would agree on Liz Irish. It's important that they, at least ahead of time, be able to say, yes, I can make the meetings, because they are sequential. They kind of fit together, and so it's important to have everybody have the same information. So.
And commissioners, I might add, and I think you all know this, as part of the law, this appointment would only be fulfilling the remainder of the term of the person of Javier Cervantes who resigned, which would go through 12/31 of 2023. And I have confirmed that all with the eligible members, and they're comfortable with that. I do want to just echo what you said. I was very impressed with the applications that we got in and in conversations. I mean, high quality people. Again, you mentioned the names, but all of them were just, you can't, as Nancy said, you can't really go wrong. All high quality people, and I was very pleased to be able to see the turnout. So again, support your decision wherever you choose to go. And I know that in terms of Liz Irish, she has indicated that she would be available tonight. So I will look to Vance when you get to that part in terms of the process in which we have to appoint and making that all happen. So thank you, though.
So it sounds like the direction is to appoint Liz Irish. I would suggest a motion be to appoint Liz Irish to fulfill the remainder of the vacant budget committee position and directing staff to prepare the order for circulation.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thanks, Vance.
And so Rick, I'll leave it to you to get in touch with Liz, and I will get in touch. I will work with Teresa to get the order put together and circulated for signature by the board.
Thank you, Vance. And I will be on the phone here in 2 to 3 minutes with Liz to let her know and making sure that she has all the information that the budget committee has received to date for tonight's meeting.
Great, thank you.
Yay, teamwork.
Okay, is there anything under other that we need to consider at this time? Hearing none, I will recess the business meeting and start the executive session. So we need a slight break to
Recording stopped.
do that, and